There's probably a sentence you said years ago that still randomly ruins your day. Not because you're thinking about it. Your brain just decides it's time. You'll be brushing your teeth, walking home, trying to fall asleep. And then, out of nowhere, hey, remember what you said to her? And somehow you're right back there. For me, it was the first time I actually tried talking to the girl I liked. Not in a group, not saying hi in the hallway. An actual conversation. Just me, her, and about 10 seconds to prove I was capable of speaking. Here's the embarrassing part. I had rehearsed it. A lot. Nobody admits that. But I definitely did. I'd played that conversation in my head so many times it felt real. I knew exactly how I'd start. I knew where she'd probably laugh. I even had a backup joke, just in case. Then she looked at me. Actually looked at me. And it was like someone reached into my head and unplugged the entire system. Everything disappeared. The opening line, the joke, the backup joke. Even my own name probably wasn't safe. My brain went completely blank. Not quiet. Blank. Like an old computer that freezes for no reason while you're desperately clicking the mouse, hoping something starts working again. Now imagine standing there, watching someone wait for you to speak, while your brain is showing nothing but a loading screen. Eventually, I said something. We'll get to what I said. Okay, the thing. She looked at me and said, "Hey," that was it. One word. A completely normal thing that normal people answer with. Hey, instead, my mouth decided to freestyle. Without asking me, without checking with my brain, it said, "You too. You too." She hadn't wished me a good day. She hadn't complimented me. She hadn't said anything that could possibly lead to "you too." My brain had somehow responded to a sentence that didn't exist. She just stood there for a second. Did that tiny head tilt people do when they're trying to figure out if they heard you correctly? Looking back, I actually had an escape route. I could have laughed. I could have said, "Wow, I have absolutely no idea why I just said that." It would have been awkward for maybe 3 seconds. Instead, I made a decision that only a terrified 16-year-old could make. I committed. I nodded. Like, yes, I meant that. Like, "You too" was somehow the perfect response, and she just hadn't caught up yet. Then, because my brain had officially resigned from its position, I did the only thing I could think of. I left. Not smoothly, not naturally. I just turned around and walked away in the middle of the conversation. Like I suddenly remembered I had an incredibly important meeting. I didn't. I walked to the end of the hallway, stood there, and stared at a locker for what felt like 5 minutes. I wasn't thinking about the locker. I was replaying those 2 words. You too. That's the amazing thing about embarrassment. Something that lasts 2 seconds can somehow move into your head and sign a permanent lease. Here's the part that took me years to figure out. For the longest time, I was convinced she remembered that moment just as clearly as I did. I honestly believed that somewhere out there, every now and then, she'd remember the guy who somehow answered "hey" with "you too." I was sure I'd become one of those stories. You won't believe what this guy said to me once. Then one day I tried something. I tried remembering the most embarrassing thing someone else had ever said to me in school. Not something funny, something genuinely awkward. I couldn't think of a single one. I remembered teachers, a couple of popular kids, some stupid jokes. But all those little embarrassing moments everyone else must have had? Nothing. Completely gone. That's when it finally clicked. If I couldn't remember theirs, why was I so convinced everyone remembered mine? The truth is, everyone's carrying their own version of "you too," their own sentence, their own awkward conversation, their own hallway they escaped to afterward, hoping nobody noticed. The girl I couldn't stop thinking about? She was a teenager too. She probably went home replaying one of her own conversations, wondering if she sounded weird, wondering if she said the wrong thing, wondering if somebody thought she was embarrassing. Meanwhile, I was busy imagining an audience that probably never existed. The whole conversation felt like a disaster movie in my head. For everyone else, it was probably just Tuesday. And that's the strange thing about embarrassment. It feels like you're standing on a stage. Most of the time, you're sitting alone in the audience. So, what do you actually do with a memory like that? Because knowing she probably doesn't remember it, honestly, that wasn't enough. I tried that. I'd tell myself, she probably forgot. 5 minutes later, my brain would play the whole scene again anyway. The thing that actually helped was much simpler. I stopped treating that memory like evidence. Every time it showed up, I'd catch myself thinking, "See? This is why you're awkward." Then I'd stop and ask one question. Is this really who I am? Or is this just one nervous kid having one nervous moment? The answer never changed. It was just a kid who liked a girl, a kid who wanted one conversation to go well so badly that his brain completely crashed. Looking back now, I don't feel embarrassed for him anymore. Mostly, I just feel bad that he thought those 10 seconds were going to define the rest of his life. They didn't, and neither will yours. Not because you'll magically stop feeling embarrassed, but because one awkward moment was never enough to explain an entire person. That's probably the biggest thing that memory ever taught me. Don't treat your worst moment like evidence. Treat it like context. Nobody told me that the moment I was most ashamed of was really just a scared kid trying his best with absolutely no idea what he was doing. Maybe nobody told you that either. That's why this channel exists, to talk about the things nobody told us.